Do your friends and family think you are crazy for wanting to move to Portland, Oregon? Or do you think you're crazy for wanting to move to Portland, Oregon? In this video, we're gonna discuss if Portland is still a good place to live or if it's past its heyday. Stay tuned. There was a time when Portland was topping best city to live in lists every single year. And around 2015, things changed a little bit and Portland was slowly starting to backslide. And then we all know what happened in 2020 and all of the bad press that Portland got. So it begs the question, is Portland still a good place to live? It's become known for coffee, food, greenery, rain, obviously, but also this very eclectic, indie, artsy vibe that really drives that keep Portland weird culture. But I'm sure you've seen headlines about political clashes and large-scale protests and rampant urban camping or people just setting up tents on the sidewalk. And this idea for this video came because I had a client who got a job offer to relocate to Portland, and you can check that video out here. We had a little conversation and he said, like, no way am I moving to Portland. Have you seen the news lately? And that was his first thought, like, there's no way I'm moving my family to Portland.
So yes, I got a job offer in June. And then they're like, great, we're so happy that you signed the offer. We need you here in 30 days.
Yeah.
So then we're like, okay, this is crazy.
Which was about 60 days after the Camas got named one of the best cities to live in the whole country.
Yeah, so that was great for competition.
Yeah, we loved that.
But no, it was funny because I first got approached for the job. They're like, hey, we want you to move to Portland. And I'm like, there's no chance. Like, have you watched the news recently? Like, this place is crumbling. There's way too many, like whatever. But it actually is totally not what we anticipated. Yeah. So like you have this really beautiful city, but then you have all these suburbs. So we Googled safest place or safest neighborhood, I think, in Portland area.
And a lot of the people that become clients from watching our YouTube channel have said that they've visited Portland, they love it as a city, but they really didn't know if it was where they wanted to live. You know, the thing that made Portland great around 2015 and before was that it was still relatively affordable metro area. You could buy a house. Jobs and wages were rising with tech and a lot of green industry. It had a great culture, creativity. You had nature right in your backyard. And so we're gonna go through a few different things. We're gonna talk about the cost of living and the job market and infrastructure and transportation and what the culture's like today to see if Portland is still a good place to live. If you don't know me, my name's Halberd, and I want to welcome you back to Living in the Pacific Northwest with Halberd. If you are looking to buy, sell, or invest in the Pacific Northwest, shoot me a text at 360-818-4438. I am a licensed realtor and relocation specialist along with my team in the Portland Metro and Southwest Washington areas, and we help people move to and within the entire Portland Metro area, whether that's a cross-state or even cross-country move, or you're just moving from Sherwood, Oregon to Ridgefield, Washington, or vice versa, and anywhere in between. And the reason this channel exists is because we wanted to be the friend in the Northwest that we wish we had when we moved here 7 years ago. We didn't feel like people were willing to give us the time of day when we weren't 100% decided on moving to the area and willing to buy in the next week. It was brutal. And so we wanted to create a community and a space where people felt comfortable to just explore that idea and to have someone trusted that they could reach out to. And if you end up moving here and you want to work with myself and my team, that's what supports this channel and keeps us making videos, because we get to work with awesome people like you who are watching this channel. So make sure to subscribe, give this video a like so that more people like you can find us, and let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear where you're watching from. Are you local? Are you from outside of the area? We'd love to know. So without further ado, let's jump in. The first topic we're going to cover is the cost of living and housing. So the question we have to ask here is, yeah, we know that Portland used to be an affordable city, but is it still an affordable major West Coast city. So when we're looking at West Coast metros, starting in the South from San Diego, moving north to LA, maybe Santa Barbara or the Central Coast, the Bay Area, one of the highest cost of living areas in the country, up to Portland and Seattle, as these major West Coast cities, Portland is still the most affordable. Even when we look back to 2019, the median home sale price, and median just means that half the homes sold below that number and half sold above it. So median home price in Portland across all styles of homes, from single family homes or detached homes, attached, townhouses, condos, floating homes, because Portland is a river city. There are several options for floating homes. Let me know in the comments if you guys want a video about that. But the median home price in 2019 across the whole market was $415,000. Today in 2025, that number is $550,000, which isn't bad. We're talking about less than $150,000 increase. Compare that to some areas in the country that have doubled and tripled in price in this post 2020 era that we live in. Now, if we segment out just single family homes and detached homes, because that's the majority of my clients are in that market, you're looking at homes in 2019 were about $430,000. Today, those homes are about $590,000. So for less than $600,000, you can buy a median priced home. And a great example of this is a home that my client just went under contract on this week. That is a 3-bed, 1-bath, fully remodeled home on more than 1/3 of an acre. The house was priced at $549,000 and we got it for him under asking. So I'll put some pictures up so you can kind of see what that looks like. It's a gorgeous property. And then as we talk about cost of living, you can see across the country where the lowest cost of living are. So the blue dots here are low cost of living areas, all the way up to those pink dots in New York and the Bay Area of California as what I'm gonna call triple V, very, very, very high cost of living, meaning 60+% more expensive than the relative cost of the rest of the country. So if you look on the West Coast, that whole coast we're talking about, San Diego, LA, the Bay Area, all has very, very, or triple V high cost of living area. Even that red dot in Washington and King County, very high cost of living area, where when you look at Portland, it's the only major city, international airport on the West Coast where you are getting just a regular high cost of living. You're talking 10 to 30% more expensive than the relative cost of living in the US. And this is taking into account factors like housing, food costs, childcare, transportation, healthcare, clothing, schooling, taxes, everything. So when we look at housing and when we look at cost of living, we can check the box that yes, Portland is still one of the most affordable big cities on the West Coast to live in. So now we're gonna talk about lifestyle and amenities, and I'm gonna separate lifestyle and amenities out from the culture of Portland, because the people and the culture of Portland is so interwoven to what the city is and what it's like to experience the city that I wanna talk about that on its own. So when we're looking at lifestyle, the question is, does it still have a decent lifestyle? And for this, we're gonna look at things that go into affecting your quality of life, like access to amenities, what your day-to-day lifestyle can look like. So let's start with walkability, because one of the benefits of living in a big city and not a rural area is having the ability to walk to restaurants and coffee shops and the post office and to boutiques and to just do your daily life activities. Portland has a very high walk score across the whole city. I think the average is like a 67 walk score, but some neighborhoods have as like 90+ when it comes to walk score. And even if the walk score isn't like out of this world in the neighborhood you're considering, Portland is one of the most friendly bike cities in the US. It's often compared to Amsterdam, and if you know anything about Amsterdam, the bike culture in Amsterdam is huge. Like, you're way more likely to get hit by a bike in Amsterdam than a car. And that's not quite the same for Portland, but as far as the US goes, it's one of the most friendly bike cities. A lot of people bicycle commute. Parks, there are more parks per capita than almost any big city. There are over 200 parks in the city, big and small, and that can really add to your quality of life and access to amenities, especially for my dog lovers out there. To be able to just walk to a park and let your dog off leash and let them run around is great. I've sold a house to a couple who their dogs are like their kids, which, you know, when I've had dogs, that's what it's like for me. I feel like we should get another dog. Wink, wink, hint, hint.
Another dog? Mm-hmm. For a kid, would you use it?
A dog.
Okay.
And they live very close to one of the natural areas in Portland. There's Rocky Butte, there's Mount Tabor, there's Powell Butte. And so the lifestyle you get having access to parks. While we're talking about parks and greenery, Portland is one of the most green cities. It's consistently ranked in the top 5 for sustainability, recycling, public transit usage. It just has this very wholesome, organic feel to it. And air quality. Air quality is super important to my husband and I. When we go places like Southern California and there's smog, visiting family, or to Florida for conferences, we cannot wait to land at PDX and smell the Portland air. So I challenge you to compare your air quality on any random day that you're at home and you're like, oh, the air quality is not so good today. That's the time. Look up your air quality in your current area and then compare it to Portland, especially a neighborhood that you want to live in. And you'd be surprised at how consistently high quality our air is. Next, let's talk about outdoor activities, because obviously if the air quality is great, that means that you can get outside more. And why would you want to get outside? Well, so you can go to Forest Park, which is actually larger than New York's Central Park. Little known fun fact. Now, if you want to head east, you can be in the Columbia River Gorge, which has a lifetime worth of hiking. You've also got Mount Hood for skiing. And if you head about the same distance, an hour and a half, 2 hours west, you'll end up on the Oregon coast, where there are so many cute small beach towns. And the great thing about Northwest beaches is you can drive on the beach. They're less populated, they're cooler. Most of them aren't swimming beaches. We're far enough north that the water's not that warm, but being near the coast and the coastal air, it's lovely. You can hike one weekend out in the gorge, you can go skiing the next, and then you can go out to the coast the next weekend. Very well-rounded in terms of lifestyle and amenities. And then if we're thinking about dining and entertainment, the dining scene in Portland is very much chef-driven, creativity-driven, lots of different ethnic options because food carts are so popular here. Unlike some big cities where I think about like New York having tons of like hot dog stands, they're all selling the same thing and like all over the city. Our food carts vary so widely in different concepts, and it allows really creative chefs to try out new concepts that they might not be able to do in a traditional brick and mortar setting. Plus you've got hundreds of coffee shops and everybody has their favorite. And then when we look at some of the like award-winning dining, you have so many James Beard nominees and award winners here, both restaurants and chefs. Not a big fine dining restaurant, but if you like casual dining and just really good quality food, Portland is such a good place to be. Entertainment-wise, you've got MLS soccer, with the Timbers, you've got NBA basketball with the Trailblazers. And then you've got kind of like offshoot events like soapbox derby and roller derby and these like giant pumpkin regattas and all sorts of things from an entertainment standpoint. There's plays. We had Hamilton here last year, and you just have a lot of options. It's not the hub of entertainment in terms of being like Vegas, but we do get major shows at Moda Center, and then everything in Portland is like just scaled back in a way. Like we're not having these like big Beyonce concerts or something like that. You'll have like these small indie places, like very local and curated and community driven. And that's one of the things that we really love about the city of Portland. So when we say Portland still has amenities, we're talking parks the size of cities, hundreds of food carts, and more breweries than you could try in a year. It's just amazing to have like hiking minutes from your doorstep. All of these things make the lifestyle and amenities that Portland offers just so high quality, a high quality life. So let's check that off. Amenities and lifestyle, check. It's great in Portland, still great, was great, is great. I think it will continue to be great, if not better. And as you could kind of pick up from me mentioning things like a giant pumpkin regatta, Portland has a very keep Portland weird culture. That's like a big slogan of the city. So is the town still fun and quirky and eccentric? Let's dive into that. On the community scene, you've got art, music, festivals, community events. Portland is a big festival city. You have the big Rose Festival every year. You've got a huge waterfront blues festival. It's one of the largest blues festivals west of the Mississippi. You've got PDX Beer Week, the Portland International Indie Film Festival. Portland does festivals great. Big events, you see that. But then you also have these tiny iconic events like the Adult Soapbox Derby at Mount Tabor. You've got the World Naked Bike Ride, which Portland hosts the largest gathering for the World Naked Bike Ride every year. And you have the Portland Saturday Market, which is the longest running open air market in the country. So it's like Portland really holds on to its traditions. It's very proud of its culture and heritage and history and you can see that through the events. Like I just shared a video over on Instagram of a woman who wanted to get out and walk more, and she wanted to do it in a fun communal way. And she started this retro walking club at the mall. So they walk around the mall and they dress up in like retro 80s outfits and walk around the mall. And when I saw it, and I was like, this is the keep Portland weird culture that I absolutely love. By the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure to go follow me at HalBird. I share stuff over there that never makes it to YouTube. And then you've got the like artist and maker culture going on. So whether that's writing or books, like Powell's is the world's largest independent bookstore. The downtown location, the original location, takes up an entire city block. You guys, I'm laughing at myself because I've tried to say this and my words just keep twisting. My favorite Powell's location is over on Southeast Hawthorne. I got it. Word struggles today. But you've got dozens of independent art galleries. You've got the First Thursdays in downtown. You've got the Alberta Arts District, which has obviously an art, mural, street art culture going on. If you are a maker or you want to buy something like a craft, if you want to sell or buy a craft, like Portland is the place to do it. They've got markets for everything. And that's why there's that Portlandia skit about put a bird on it when it comes to Portland. Have you guys seen that? I'll post it here too.
Hi, I'm Bryce Shivers.
Hi, I'm Lisa Eversman.
And we put birds on things. Today we're gonna go to a store on Mississippi Avenue. Nothing has birds on it, but you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna put birds on things.
Spruce it up. Make it pretty.
Thank you.
Put a bird on it. Putting a bird on this teapot. It's a bird. I bet it's flying all over the beach.
What a sad little tote bag. I know, I'll put a bird on it. Did you see this bag before? I didn't. Now there's a bird. It's flying. It's free.
I'm gonna put this bird right on this card.
It's so pretty.
You like that, ma'am?
Fantastic.
And then for live entertainment, we've obviously got going big. You've got the Moda Center where we have like national headlines, but also the Crystal Ballroom and Douglas Fir Lounge are local legends. Plus you've got fun things like drag shows and things going on in the LGBTQ community like Darcel's. Also, fun fact, Portland Pride usually happens later in the summer because the Rose Festival is going on in June, and so they wanted to, I believe, give it like its own recognition. So this year in 2025, it's July 20th. So if you wanted to get out to a Pride event, going to the Portland Pride events would be really cool because you're not missing other stuff going on in June where you live now. And then there's this huge like DIY underground scene as well, and when it comes to music. And that's one of the things that I think people don't fully understand and appreciate until they get to Portland, is that nobody cares what you've got going on, what you're wearing, what your vibe is. Like, it's very much do you. Nobody cares. No one's gonna judge you for it. People are gonna just move on. So if you have some like offbeat kind of random hobby or interest, you can probably find your people here because there's so many hyper specific things that people are into and gather around. It's got this community feel, and you sense that as you go through Portland. It has this strong community vibe where, like, I had never heard of tool libraries before living in the Northwest, where instead of going, if you need a ladder, instead of going to buy one, you can borrow one from a tool library, and there's tool libraries all over the city. So it's got this activist culture. It's got this culture of like, we're not going to wait around for someone else to solve our problems. Like, we're going to get together as neighbors and figure it out. We want a community garden, and we're going to find this empty lot, and we're going to turn it into a community garden. And I don't think it's any surprise that Portland's values lean really progressive. So there's a huge focus on inclusion. People care a lot about things like sustainability, equality, inclusion, and like personal freedom in the most like liberal sense of the word. And so when you're driving around Portland, you'll see like pride flags up, you'll see Black Lives Matter signs, you'll see mutual aid signs on neighborhood boards, and this big push to support local. That's why companies like Dunkin' Donuts who've come into Portland and tried to open it have failed, because like I was talking about, everyone has their favorite coffee shop. People will go out of their way to support local and support their neighbors, and will reject and try to, you know, kind of like counterculture, reject like corporatism and a lot of mainstream stuff. And that culture leads to this vibe where people are very friendly. They're very open to whoever and however you are, meaning like you can strike up a conversation with someone at a coffee shop. People are very friendly, very polite. But if you want to really develop that close, tight-knit friend group, you will have to make an effort. And the best way that we've found to do that is to go to events that are centered around our interests. So that can be biking, geology, motorcycling, running for us. Like our running group was the thing that really helped us make friends when we initially moved here. So if you put yourself out there, generally, I found that you will be well received and people will welcome you in. It's not cliquish, it's not standoffish, but you just kind of have to make that first step. So the culture is still great. Portland is still weird. There is more, as Portland's grown, of this expansion of corporatism, and you can really see the rejection of that by people willingly doing urban camping, just being kind of punk rock about life, you know, like that's what Portland is. And I think it's really nice. And if you come here, I would say try to figure out how you can fit in and assimilate to that culture and keep the Portland weirdness alive, because there's nowhere else in the country like it, rather than coming in and trying to make it exactly like somewhere else. Like, appreciate Portland for what it has to offer. So when it comes to culture, I say check. Portland still has an amazing culture. When it comes to the job market and economy, people might ask, well, is it still a good place to find a job? Is it still a good place to work? And I would say that you still have industries that are growing. There's a lot of smaller startups now. A lot of remote workers are moving here, and the big employers, like the biggest employers in the Portland metro area, would be like Nike and Intel. And then you have a lot of like lesser known brands that employ a lot of people. So other large employers are in the healthcare field. About 60% of Portland employees work for large businesses, while another 40% of workers are at smaller companies. So there's definitely opportunities. You don't have to go with some household name Fortune 500 company in order to find work here. There's a lot of freelance opportunities, a lot of healthcare opportunities, and you will see that post-pandemic, there's been a shift in the job market. So it's really hit some businesses, and some of those businesses are no longer with us, but remote work is also a great option if you are thinking about living in the Portland area. So how's the job market in Portland? There is still a need for workers in Portland, as evidenced by so many of my clients coming in with job offers, or their existing employer relocating them to this region up in the Northwest from other parts of the country. And next is safety and crime. And I think this is the one that really gets people after seeing fires and public camping and things like that, especially if you have young kids. It's something that is definitely going to be on your mind. And I don't think there's any way to sugarcoat it, that some neighborhoods you will see a lot more pervasiveness of an unhoused population. Portland has definitely suffered from increases in property crime and vandalism. And if you want to track that, there's a website called pdx-shootings.com that tracks all of the gun-related crime and activity in the city. So it's that being said, because if you've watched this channel for a while, you know that we don't skirt away from tough issues. There are those concerns, but not in every neighborhood. you can go through Portland and you can go through neighborhoods like Laurelhurst and Irvington and Mount Tabor and feel like you are in the most idyllic, beautiful neighborhood you've seen. Like, think craftsman style homes, like with these gorgeous, intricate landscaping and these like Queen Anne properties with all these details. And it's just, there's so many neighborhoods like that, or homes that have a lot of mid-century modern homes, one-level homes. You've got a lot of redevelopment going on in the city. So you'll see in some neighborhoods a very mixed bag of housing between older homes and more like homes that are built to be 3 levels. So they might have a garage and 2 levels above, fourplexes, duplexes, like very skinny 2-story homes. There's a big mix. So can you live in an area where you feel safe within the city of Portland? Yes, there are neighborhoods that I think most people would find that are safe and pleasant and lovely and add to your quality of life. But are there areas where you should be careful or concerned? You know, it depends on your crime tolerance. My husband's from Philadelphia. His crime tolerance is a little bit different than me growing up in suburban Southern California. But I also lived in LA. My parents are formerly New Yorkers, so they instilled a certain level of city sense into me. So it really depends, because if you're coming from somewhere like, I don't know, a sleepy town in North Dakota, nothing against North Dakota, it might seem a little bit bigger and, you know, just different than what you're used to. So crime and safety, I would say, is worse than it was, say, 10 years ago, but still something that is manageable, and I don't think you're escaping it in any big city across the entire country. Now, looking at infrastructure and transportation, is Portland still easy to get around? I think that kind of depends on what part of town you are and if you're working across town, for instance. But because Portland is so bikeable and there is public transit options, I have a client that lives very far east in the city of Portland. They're still in Portland proper and they work in downtown. And a lot of times they will, depending on the weather, sometimes they'll ride their bike the whole way there. Sometimes they'll take the max and for part of the ride and then ride the rest of the way to work once they get into downtown. So there's a lot of flexibilities, and they like it because they get to stay a 1-car household, which is just more manageable, better for space. You know, the wife works from home, so they have a lot of flexibility in terms of the transportation. And it's not just the city of Portland that's grown, but it's also the surrounding areas. So the commuter traffic has gotten worse. And now that we are 5 years out from 2020 and more workers are going into the office, you've started to see traffic patterns like any big city emerge. But if you're going to be in the city and you can live, 10, 15 minutes from work, that's a very doable commute, and the infrastructure will support you. And Portland is working on new bike lanes, adding more safety, and really making public transportation more accessible and usable. So if you're moving here, it's really important to think about where you live, where you're going to work, and how much you want to rely on a car. Infrastructure and transportation, I'm going to say, is still better than most big cities, again, especially on the West Coast. And last, we have schools and education. So are the school rankings rising? Can you still get a good education in the city? And I would say that you have a lot of families that will choose neighborhoods specifically for the schools. I think that's pretty standard. Most parents are looking to put their kids in the best school that they can afford, or the best schools that are available to them, or, picking a house that they can afford in the best school district, like any combination of those things. And so there are schools with better reputations than others, and you can look up public data on that. It's very easy. As a realtor, because of your housing laws, I'm very limited in what I can say about that. But there are plenty of resources, and as you guys decide on what schools you want, we can talk about how to tailor the right house for the schools that you're targeting. There are also several charter schools and private school options to choose from as well. And then we've got higher education. You've got several colleges and universities in the city. You've got Portland State University in downtown, University of Portland in North Portland. You've got Lewis and Clark College, Reed College, several community college options. So there's not only K through 12 education, but also higher education as well. So you still have good choices when it comes to schools and education in Portland. So we started out on this video trying to answer the question, is Portland still a good place to live? After everything you've heard, you tell me in the comments, do you think Portland is still a good place to live? I think so. I would live in the city limits of Portland. There are several neighborhoods that I absolutely adore, and every time we're there, I wonder why I don't already live there. But I hope this video was encouraging if that itch to move to Portland was around 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I speak to a lot of people who have visited Portland as kids, or, you know, like they had grandparents or extended family here and they spent a lot of time here, and there's always been this itch to come back. If you have this itch, just know you are not crazy. Portland is still a good place to live. It's world-class in so many ways, and just a truly lovely city that has its challenges, but I have yet to find a perfect place in this entire world. But
Amen is what this thing is about.
Jared's saying amen in the background.
Saying the prayers.
I think I've been talking too long, you guys. Thank you for sticking with me. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Make sure to like this video on the way out. If you are considering a move to the Northwest, please book a Zoom with me. We would love to chat with you about what it looks like for your relocation and how it can be of service. Until next time, guys. Ciao.